Okay, brief history of some of the conversations we've had on this very small channel that hasn't taken off. I do have actually another channel that, in a small way, has taken off and it has achieved what it needed to achieve. This one, I don't think it ever will. But a brief history of our conversation about the United States, even though this is New Left Radio Canada, and I've gone through the whole Trudeau thing, and there's lots of news here in Canada that someday I'll get back to. But the United States is our biggest problem right now. But one of the things that I had been going on about in the with the United States is the complete lack of decent high-tech CEOs remaining, and that was one thing. And then this massive spend on AI, greed-fueled panic, right? To spend as much money on AI as possible. And also the intentional offshoring of jobs. And I've been saying how that kind of thing is going to be expedited as the spend on AI increases. More jobs will be, more people will be laid off. More jobs will be shipped overseas. And I do not see this abating at all when I look at comments that people are making on Reddit and stuff like that about their experiences in the United States and Canada. Because a lot of Canadians work for American tech companies and stuff like that. And I've mentioned, generally that the CEOs, that the current batch of CEOs across all of high tech in the States seem to be more incompetent than ever, and are not handling the current situation very well. And we had the takeoff of these Magnificent Seven stocks due to AI. And to me, that was a sign that things are actually very, very bad, not good, with the amount of money that was being spent. And in a drunken video that I did recently, I got so fed up with all these people that are not doing well by their companies, in my opinion, cozying up to Trump in order to maintain their monopoly as much as possible. Right? And now we are seeing what happens when the focus is spending money, right? And cozying up to a president, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Your competitiveness becomes jeopardized, right? Now, I was saying in a very political video that it is time for the Western world to stop cozying up to the United States high tech, such as Amazon and Facebook and unfortunately Google. Anyone that was, especially any of those companies that are cozying up to Trump while he is attacking us, right? It's time to bid them farewell. And I also said you can't just say, well, it's just Trump. No, people voted for Trump, number one. And number two, these companies are cozying up with him, right? But, and I mentioned, and this was a big theme in many of my videos, that code is mostly open source these days. There is nothing, I called it a deck of cards, I meant a house of cards. There is a house of cards in the United States with all these high-tech companies that can easily be destroyed. And that's because open source exists. The language that most of these companies use, for example, like Python, was not even, as far as I know, developed by an American. Right? It's very precarious. I've talked about hubris before. It's absolute hubris to think that with just a bunch of money and making statements about $500 billion and making statements about requiring nuclear power plants to power your AI, it's just hubris to make those statements, right? So what has happened in the last few days? Well, a Chinese company with DeepSeek, I guess it is, has shown that they can process data for AI at such a low rate as far as cost, right? In comparison to the United States, that they are going to destroy American AI. I also talked in the past about how Chinese cars cannot even be sold in the United States because it will destroy every auto manufacturer. I've talked about how the world is going green, whether the United States likes it or not, and gas-powered automobiles are going to be a thing of the future very soon because China has succeeded with this. So the United States is quickly becoming a dinosaur technologically, and it seems like there's nothing they can do about it. Well, cozying up with idiot high-tech people that believe that spending $500 billion is the way to solve a problem is not the way to do it. So this administration is already off to a horrible start. Horrible. Sam Altman has been walking around hat in hand for how long now, talking about trillions of dollars required. This is not a good business plan. You know, if something costs trillions of dollars, how are you going to make your money back on it? And of course, through hubris, they think, well, it's going to be so great, and we're going to use this to replace jobs. They always say it's not going to replace jobs. And so it'll be worth a lot of money. But how much money, right? And anyway, they've been shown to be totally thinking in the wrong direction. If money is the only, well, there was a nice article in Bloomberg today. But if money is the only moat that you have to protect yourself, well, you are going to get screwed. And that's exactly what's happening with a bunch of stocks today when people are starting to realize that, yeah, $500 billion is a lot of money. And maybe there is a more efficient way to do it. You know, and maybe we don't need Microsoft, maybe they don't need nuclear power plants in order to get this job done. It just shows absolute greed. But anyway, it's shocking to me. Well, it shouldn't have been. I'm stupid in this way. I was saying how in the Western world we need to compete with this because this is ridiculous. But it's China is competing. And the thing about this that we have to understand is that all of this is about empire, right? No one cares about the jobs in the United States right now. The focus of all these people is, how do we win the AI race? We have to do this. Well, the simple fact is this. Competition and all this stuff is going to continue until quantum computers come along anyway. Because it is often about the code, as we're seeing right now. And as I've been saying, most code is open source. Most of the best code is open source. Microsoft jumped on AI because Microsoft has never been a leading force in anything other than trying to monopolize desktop use and Microsoft Office, right? And here they go jumping on this thing. It's probably mostly Linux-based, right, and Python-based. And but they like it. Why? Well, because that can give them a stranglehold over the world, right? But I think their greed got a little bit in front of them. And I don't know if they have signed anything for these nuclear power plants that they want brought back online. But it might be an expenditure too far. Who knows? But as I said in a previous video, Microsoft never stops. It is a machine that constantly needs to be fed. And all these other companies are like that now as well. So, yeah, they need competition, though. You know, and I was saying, all the competition has to come from outside of the United States. Because inside the United States, we have the bro-opoly that is going on right now. We are seeing now that the bro-opoly is not doing anything good for the United States. It's not doing anything good for the people. Jobs in high tech are being slashed across the board to pay for these AI fees that they're getting because OpenAI is so expensive. And I said, before anyone loses a job because AI is replacing them, they will lose their job because the company doesn't have money for AI and for them. Right, the investment in AI. So the cut has to go somewhere, and companies love to cut people. Microsoft just laid off a bunch of people after investing billions in AI. looking like idiots now, which they always have been, but they like monopolies. So they are not helping the American society by trying to have monopolies, because what the United States needs is innovation. Innovation is disappearing because you have tech bros that care about money and huge investments rather than innovation. Facebook is talking about the transition to AI. Meanwhile, their app still sucks. Right? They haven't even completed their app. There are so many things about it that are infuriating. And I was saying that, also because of the way Facebook acts, and they're so buddy-buddy with Trump, who is now throwing sanctions on, not sanctions, but tariffs, wants to put tariffs on everyone. I mean, we're not even a partner with the ally with the United States anymore at this point. He keeps talking about taking over Canada through economic war. So we're at economic war. They're not our ally then. But I've been saying, the Facebook app is horrible, and it's horrible because the app is not made for you. It is made for advertisers and for the company itself. That's the weird upside-down world that we live in today. And so we need competition against these companies where they're creating something for you, the user, right? I don't want to get too much into the technology of that, but the first thing that has to happen is universal authentication for much smaller apps, so that your identity is the same across all of the apps. And instead of having one behemoth app like Facebook that has groups and then messages and then friends and then news feeds and all this other stuff, it's all got to be split up. Now, I would have said in the past, it's time for Facebook to be split up. But in the United States, they love the bro-opoly. So it's not going to happen. So it has to happen outside the United States. But the first thing is that authentication system where apps that are brought into the ecosystem, you can have that same identity across all of them. But really, this isn't a political thing. This is a technological thing. But isn't it so funny that everything, like I started up this channel talking about how Trudeau was really messing up Canada. And everyone's complaining about him being left-wing. Left-wing people don't prop up house prices, okay? Left-wing people don't do that. And we did move on to some technology stuff. And even in my last video, I think I was quite drunk because I am so... one person said about Trump, this prick is going to give me an ulcer, right? Like, really, he drives me to drink. And so does Zuckerberg now and Bezos and all the other idiots. And they're idiots because they had success, and that makes them think that they're smart. They're smart, right? Bezos should know better than to get cozy with Trump, in the sense that he knows the battle is an everyday battle, and just cozying up with the president is not going to help, right? But isn't it odd? So we got onto these topics, and they are the topic of the day now, right? This is not me making it up. This is the news. I turn on Bloomberg. It's all about DeepSeek today, right? But isn't it odd that the thing that I spent my entire life on, which not AI per se, but languages like Python and Unix, which is mostly Linux now on all of these things, and scaling and all that other stuff, is the battle now that's going on. But let me tell you something, that battle's going on. Meanwhile, they are shedding jobs in the United States at an unprecedented rate because they do not believe that they need people to win this war. They just want your money. And because of that attitude, and because of the fact that the United States is now a friend of no one's, they have lost all goodwill, and everyone is going to be fighting against this. And they will be destroyed because, as I said, I said deck of cards, but I meant house of cards. It is a house of cards that is easily destroyed. We're seeing step one of that today. It's going to continue unless they get their act together. But getting their act together means a few things. Trump has to change his attitude. That's never going to happen, right? So we have 4 years of this, of falling further and further and further behind, creating more and more and more enemies that want to compete with you. And we have all kinds of money still flying in to the bro-opoly. So they're sitting on their asses. They're laying off people rather than engaging with them. Meta's laying off a bunch of people, like 3,600 people, something like that they could be engaging with instead. But now it's top-down management. And it's idiot management that thinks we can only save money by getting rid of people. No. You save money through innovation, you idiots. And you just got taught that. It's a slap on the ass. It's a kick in the ass. So CEOs in the United States, stop bothering with cozying up to the president. Get back to innovation and stop treating your employees like shit. Have a good day.